shit in paper on these player haters. Old news, money on the other line.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You, man. As usual, I am your host, Scott. You know to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BarbChairScott. You can follow HNB Media at HNB Media TV on Twitter and at HNB Media on Instagram. And you can follow the Barber's Chair Network on Twitter and Instagram at Barber's Chair Net. And subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Barber's Chair Network. You can get 3 different tiers, man. You got the $5 Summer Sessions tier, where you can get all Summer Sessions podcasts and videos. We got the Barber's Chair All Access tier, where you get everything. And, of course, we have our new tier, the 79th and Hallis tier. Me and my brother Flo will be giving y'all a lot of off-season content that actually begins this weekend with the 79th and Hallis Presents show, where basically we'll be giving our live reaction to classic Bears games, and this week we're going to be doing the classic Denny Green, they are who we thought they were game with Devin Hester and the Bears defense came back, so check that out this week, man. But we're back. Just a quick show note, we're going to be dropping this every other week up until the actual NBA playoffs start. There's not really much going on in the sports world outside of the NBA. The NFL's in the offseason. I'm not finna sit up here and talk to y'all about pointless offseason topics like why is Kyler Murray putting shit on Instagram? And we all know what's going on with baseball. And that's actually a perfect segue into my sound off to begin today's episode, man. The MLB is in this 3rd month of lockout. And this is actually games are being missed now. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, a.k.a. A domestic terrorist, a.k.a. a guy who will not see heaven, announced that he will be canceling the first 2 series of the 2022 MLB season. So that means that opening day is officially a wrap. Opening day is supposed to start on March 30th of this year, but that will not be longer happening as these 2 players' union and the owners could not come up with an agreement in the final hours. It looked like we were going to get out the woods on Tuesday night, man. On Monday night, when both sides met until 2 a.m. in the morning East Coast time to try to come up with a deal, but things just completely fell apart on Tuesday, man. And it's real disappointing. It's real disappointing. It's a dark day for baseball, and it's really disappointing if you're a baseball fan. And the most annoying part about it is we know what the number is. I keep saying this every time I talk about this damn topic. We know what the number is. I mean, these 2 are arguing over $50,000 when it comes to the actual payments, like the actual bottom payments when it comes to getting these guys the money. So if you're arguing over a small number of that, and of course there's other issues too, other parts of it have to go with this. It's asinine. It's asinine, and they're going to suffer a fate that happened at the last big lockout, which was the 94 and 95 seasons, where nobody cared about the game. Nobody cared about the game for a couple years until the little summer of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, or a.k.a. the Balco summer, as I like to call it, really brought fans back. Now, we don't have that this time. The unfortunate part of this league is this is probably the most exciting young players that this league has ever had. All these young superstars you've got, and now you're just like, we're just gonna take it away. And as far as the players, man, I'm very happy that the players are standing pat. Don't take anything less than what you deserve. This game is because of the players. It's not because of the punk ass owners. These are fucking billionaires, man. They're over here crying poor for no fucking reason. And, as a fan, of course, I would like for baseball to happen this on time. That'll probably be the best actual outcome because we want to see it. And personally, as a White Sox fan, I want to get that taste of that fucking playoff series out my mouth from last October, and let's get back to it. But if you're a player, you got to look at it. And I know for anybody who's siding with the owners, I just don't understand. Yes, these players are millionaires. They have money and they're good, but they need to be getting more. They're asking for the bare minimum here, and these owners won't even get to it. And a lot of it comes from a lot of these small market owners who don't want to spend any money and bring the actual talent to these teams. And we can see, like I've said all the time, the Rays to me are like I don't like how the Rays are built. They specifically say we're not going to spend money. We're just going to keep getting all these prospects and then ship them out when they're not good, when they're good, so we don't have to fucking pay them. I don't like that. And I think the annoying part here is that from here on out in this lockout, it's not going to get any better. It's actually going to get worse because the more games are missed, now you have to add money that you lost from the games that you didn't play into some of these negotiations. And when it comes to negotiations, both sides, when you're in a negotiation, both sides are going to be giving up something. You're going to hurt in some way when it comes to negotiations. And the owners look like they just don't even want to do that. I mean, the take it or leave it deal and this little bullshit deadline. There's no actual deadline for this shit. This is a deadline that the owners made up in order to try to put pressure on these players. Now, as of right now, it's only 2 series. Me personally, I feel like I didn't think that at the beginning that the season would be lost, but the more we're hearing about this and how far apart these two sides are, and also that the players are pissed off and they're unified, that just makes me think we might be here for the long haul. We might be here for the long haul, and now these players, we don't even know when they're going to negotiate next. The owners, the players unions are going back to New York, but there's no actual information on when they're going to sit down with the owners again. And it's just really unfortunate. As a baseball fan, it pisses me off. It pisses me off because we have this great sport that honestly is not marketed the way it should be because they're marketing to older people, not the younger generation. Now you're taking an even worse, even bigger step back when it comes to promoting this great game, man. It's just unfortunate, and I really have not too much to say from it because it's like I just feel like it's something that's been stagnant. It's been stagnant for a couple months. I mean, they implemented the lockout on December 1st so they could come up here and, avoid this. But we all knew this day was going to come. If you paid attention to this, there should be no shock in it. It's just more than anything. It's just upsetting and disappointing. Now let's actually get into the rundown today. The rundown, we got a lot of NBA to talk about, man. Let's talk about this NBA MVP race going on. This is a unique MVP race because this is the first time in a long time where you got 4 to 5 legitimate candidates going on here. And it's not just the usual LeBron or Steph or KD or one of those type guys. You got the guys as in, the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic, who's up in this conversation. You got the guy who's won 2 of the last 3 MVPs, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you got guys like Joel Embiid, Ja Morant, and, of course, DeMar DeRozan. Of course, you can put Chris Paul in there to some extent, but with his injury, that pretty much takes them out of the conversation. And one thing about this race, it kind of changes on a daily basis. Last week it felt like DeMar was in the driver's seat to win this award. Now it feels like Ja might be in there. So as far as today, I think I'm going to go with Joel Embiid for the MVP. I think if I had to rank them, I would put DeMar as a close second. Now, the only reason I have DeMar over Ja, and I know Ja is the flavor of the week right now, the flavor of the month, and that's fine. That's no disrespect to Ja. What Ja's been doing has been incredible. But we know how it happens in the NBA. When somebody gets hot, we get all these wild comparisons. Even look with Joel and Harden coming together, people are already comparing them to Kobe and Shaq and Magic and Kareem. It's like, let's relax here. Let's let these dudes play out and let's see how these two things work out. And the same thing with Ja. Ja is a guy who is exciting. He's one of the best young point guards in the league, and he's got his team right in the thick of this Western Conference race. I mean, as we sitting here right now, they're only a half game behind the Golden State Warriors for the 2nd seed. So you got to give it to Ja and everything he's been doing. But the reason I have and before I get to the top 2, when it comes to Jokic and when it comes to Giannis, they're candidates, but I don't think that these two are going to be down to the final 3 when it comes to actually voting. What Jokic is doing is incredible. His numbers are crazy, but this team is also in 6th seed. And when it comes to voting MVP, no matter how people might not like how they vote, we know it's 50% stats, 50% of what your team is doing. Now, granted, Jokic is doing this without 2 of his best players. Of course, Jamal Murray's been out all season. Michael Porter Jr. has missed a great amount of the season. Now, both of them are on the come up. Now, there's rumors that Michael Porter Jr. should be back before the playoffs. We haven't really heard too much about when Jamal Murray's coming back, but we all know he's doing his rehab. So you got to give him that. But when it comes to the other candidates, I can't put them over them. Now, when it comes to Giannis is about to enter the space that LeBron is in, that KD is in, that Steph is in, and where Michael Jordan was in before, as where he's going to get voters fatigue. I mean, he's won 2 out of the last 3. And it's not like you don't appreciate what he's doing, but it's also like you're so used to it. It's kind of like, okay, that's what Giannis is supposed to be doing. So he's another guy who's kind of like, he's in the conversation, but I don't really think he's a legit, top 3 candidate. So then it goes to 3. Now, I just talked about Ja. when it comes to my two favorites in Joel Embiid and DeMar DeRozan, I mean, DeMar is having a career year. He's got the Bulls in the second seed in the Eastern Conference, despite them being ravaged with injuries and COVID. In fact, they had no team in NBA has missed more games due to injury and COVID combined than the Chicago Bulls. You got Alex Caruso, who's only played 6 games since the first week of December. You got Lonzo Ball, who's only played 2 games since Christmas, and you got Patrick Williams, who literally got hurt on the 4th or 5th game of the season. So those are 3 big cogs in this Bulls team, and he's been able to put this team right in the thick of things in this Eastern Conference battle that like switches every week. You know, you lose 4 games in a row in the East, you might look yourself up in the play-in. So he's on there. And when you do a streak, I mean, this streak he just finished of 8 games of 35-plus points on 50% shooting is something that not even Michael Jordan did. When you're in any type of conversation with Wilt Chamberlain, that right there is incredible. And then being the only guy, he was a game away from tying Michael Jordan's 30-plus game streak that he had with the Bulls. So, and I'm a guy who, I'm not going to lie, before, and DeMar before he became, I wasn't the biggest DeMar DeRozan fan. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to y'all and act like I was just team DeMar before this. This was not it. I never thought he was weak. I thought he was a good shooting guard. I just didn't think he was anything special. But to see the impact that he's had on this team, and I think his time in San Antonio, really, a lot of people don't talk about, because, I'm going to give y'all a Game of Thrones reference. Like he got sent to the Night's Watch. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on in San Antonio ever since Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, and Kawhi left the building. Nobody pays attention to that. But really being with Pop made him a better playmaker, and that's what we've been seeing this year. Not only is he averaging almost 30 points, he's giving you 5 assists a game. He's giving you like 6 rebounds a game. Now, those type of things really show just his impact as an overall player. And I'm going to say, I think he's surrounded by the best talent he's played with his entire life. And this is no disrespect to Kyle Lowry or anything that he had on those Toronto Raptors teams. But there's never been a guy on any of those Toronto Raptors teams that he was on that could score like Zach LaVine. And I don't even think they even had a big who could score like Vucevic. I mean, you had Jonas Valanciunas. He's pretty good, even though I think he's better now than he was actually in Toronto. So that helps a lot too. But to be able to carry this team and just have them in the thick of things in this Eastern Conference race with all the injuries and all the things that the Bulls have been going through, I think puts them over there. Put them as probably like 1A, 1B. But the reason I got Joel Embiid up here, now granted the Bulls have a better record than the Sixers, but you got to look at Joel Embiid as this is a team that had the number 1 seed last year. He probably could have been MVP last year before he got hurt. And to do all these things he's doing right now as a big man, and to not have Ben Simmons for the entire season, whether you feel about Ben Simmons or not, that's another all-star player who helps not even just really with setting up the offense, but defensively. To go out here and have this team, he's a half game behind the Bulls right now, and doing all this before Harden. To me, I got to give it to him. And he's healthy this year. He's putting up tremendous numbers. They've been getting big wins against Milwaukee. They didn't beat Brooklyn a couple times. Like, this is really, really fun to see. And he's doing things that only people in Sixers history like Allen Iverson and Dr. J have done. So I would probably put him slightly ahead of DeMar and Ja right now in the rankings. But like I said, this is a fluid situation. 2 weeks from now, we might be singing a different tune. Ja might be number 1 in the MVP rankings. Now, where I think this is going to hurt Joel for the next 5 to 6 weeks of the season is now he does have Harden. So he might lose a couple voters because now he's playing with another superstar. So that might hurt him a little bit. But as of right now, I would probably rank my 3 candidates as Joel number 1, DeMar number 2, and Ja Morant number 3. But this is real fun to watch. It's making the games interesting. And it's really cool to see the actual race this time, as of opposed to the last couple years. We haven't really seen too much of a race. And speaking of Ja Morant, let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, man. The Memphis Grizzlies are about the third in the West right now. Is recording this half game behind the Golden State Warriors. They didn't have some impressive wins this season, and Ja's coming off a 2-game streak that's just been impressive. Dropped 46 on my Bulls head a couple nights ago. Dropped 52 over on the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, I don't even know why the Spurs came on the court in the second half. I mean, this dude was, hitting buzzer shots with one hand, had a tremendous dunk on Jacob Podol. And it was just, what he's doing right now kind of reminds me of early D Rose, like peak MVP D Rose. Now, granted, it's two different leagues. The league is much different now than it was then. The offenses are better than it was then. It's a more 3-point heavy game than it was then. And I do think he's surrounded by a better team. And of course, I'm just saying this because I see a lot of, this is better than better than D Rose MVP season. I mean, let's be real. D Rose is a shooting guard with Keith Bogus. I'm gonna keep going to that. But what Ja's doing right now is incredible. He's took this Grizzlies team from a team that was in the play-in last year, going in there, beating Steph Curry and them in their house, to being a legitimate, can these guys make some noise in the Western Conference? Now, when it comes to the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors, who are the class of the Western Conference, probably the class of the league as well, I don't know if they can beat them in a 7-game series if both teams are healthy. And I just want to say that's a if. If Chris Paul is healthy, if Draymond Green is healthy, if Clay is ready to go, I don't think they can beat either team. But at the same time, if you're Phoenix and Golden State, you don't want to see these motherfuckers in the second round. You don't want to see them any earlier than you have to. And when you have a guy like Ja who has no fear, and even though that Warriors team last year is not the Warriors team we have this year, it was really just Steph and, the Temptations last year. This is a guy who had no fear. He went up and Steph and took it from him in that play-in game last year. So, if there's anything, Ja's not going to have a fear. And this Grizzlies team is pretty damn deep. They play great defense. They're great at rebounding. What Steven Adams has brought to that team has been tremendous. I mean, just watching them out-rebound the Bulls so easily the other night. I think he had like 17 rebounds at fucking halftime. That's going to add a different element. Now, of course, the playoffs is a half-court game, so the game is going to slow down. So that's going to be interesting to see. Can Memphis adjust to that? We know Golden State can play a half-court game. We know Phoenix can play a half-court game. So I think that's going to be something that's going to come in, something that you got to look at. But one thing I will say, for Golden State at least, because even though Chris Paul is out for pretty much the rest of the regular season, I don't think Phoenix is in jeopardy of losing the number 1 seed. They're up 6, and there's only like 20 games left. Devin Booker, even though he just entered into COVID protocol today, that should be enough to hold the fort down to keep that number 1 seed. But if you're the Warriors, you don't want to get too comfortable. Grizzlies are only a half game out, and the Warriors have not looked impressive at all over these last couple weeks, not looked impressive at all without Draymond Green. Losing that 24-1 run given up to the Dallas Mavericks was just inexcusable at home, and then going to Minnesota without Anthony Edwards. Not granted, I know Clay didn't play, but just got outplayed by the Minnesota Timberwolves and let Cat do whatever he wanted to do. This is a team where they're not really playing good basketball right now. If they take their foot off the gas even further, then you might looking at a best-of-7 series in the second round against Memphis. And the Warriors are battle-tested. They can win on the road. They've proven this time and time again. But you don't want to make this situation any tougher for you than you need it to be, especially with a guy like Ja Morant who has no fear. So, and this is the real first full year people looking at the Grizzlies as maybe a solid contender in the West. So this is not a situation where the Grizzlies, if they go out here and they lose early, this looked at as a disappointment. I don't say that. But this is a team that I feel nobody wants to play, especially if you're Golden State and Phoenix. So that's something I'm looking forward to see over these last couple weeks. Can they get that number 2 seed? And that's even going to help Ja in his MVP race. They can get a top 2 seed. That might put him above DeMar and Joel in that race. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Now, it's time to talk about my beloved Chicago Bulls. And I want Bulls fans to listen to me, man. I'm going to put my phone down for this one. We're going to get more in-depth in this on the Third Pick podcast, which should be available right now when you're listening to this, me and the homie Mariano. But I want Bulls fans to listen to me and listen to me good. Get off the fucking ledge. This is a team, 39-22 right now, 2 games behind the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, ravaged by injuries, and they're still hanging on. Now, expectations plays a big part in what you want from the Bulls from this season. Me personally, they have already surpassed every expectation I had of this team. When this preseason started, I said the Bulls were going to win 48 games. And as of right now, all they need to do is win 9 more games, and they're going to meet that mark. But I definitely didn't have them as a top 2 seed this late in the season. I said as long as they don't make the play, as long as they miss the play-in, as long as they're a top 6 seed, I'm fine. And to see as good as they've done this year, I'm fine. Now, there's some people out here who want a championship, and I want to tell you, it's baby steps. It's baby steps, and it has a lot to do with what I'm saying about how they've been playing against the elite teams. I know you've been seeing the records 0-11 against certain teams, 2-6 against the elite of the East. This is why I don't really care about that record. And these are not excuses. Injuries are part of the game. It's the NBA. Nobody is fully healthy at this part of the season. I get it. The only thing that I would be concerned about is the effort of this team against the elite teams and maybe Billy's lack of adjustments. But how many of these losses did they have their guys playing? I mean, even look at the Milwaukee loss that they had. That was a game they lost by 3 points, and Zach LaVine didn't play. So I'm not finna go up here and judge this team when they're not fully healthy. And when you've got, and I know that some people say, well, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso shouldn't mean that much. Yes, in theory, maybe not. But if you look at the role that these two play, everybody just gets to the lane on the Bulls. Everybody is open season to get to the rim since those guys have been out. These are two guys who are really, really good defensively, who's going to help out the bigs as much as they can by not allowing them to even get to them. And when it comes to offensively, Lonzo Ball is the Bulls' starting point guard. So, yes, the offense is going to get a little shaky, and it's going to make DeMar and Zach play more ISO ball because they don't have their starting point guard out there. And Ayo has been great. I don't even want to imagine where the season would be without Ayo Dosunmu. But at the end of the day, he's still a fucking rookie. So that's why his last couple games look rough. He's a rookie. You can't get mad at a rookie for playing like a rookie sometimes. You need your veteran point guard to come over here and, calm the waters a little bit. So I'm not going to say the Bulls are a contender. I'm not going to say the Bulls ain't a contender. I'm just saying I want to see a sample size with these guys healthy before I tell them what they can and can't do come playoff time. You know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, playoff basketball is a whole different beast. If the Bulls went out here and beat all these teams, beat all these elite teams, they still have to prove that you can do it in the playoffs. That shit don't mean nothing. Look at the 2010, 2011 Bulls. We used to kick the shit out of the Heatles in the regular season. We damn near swept them that year. When it came to the playoffs, we didn't have a shot. Should have been swept, to be completely honest. Outside of that game one blowout, where I was drinking all the fucking Kool-Aid, they had no fucking shot in it. So I'm not trying to make excuses for the team. I'm not saying when these three get back, that's going to cure every problem. I'm saying I don't know. I can't judge this team without that. It's the same thing you look at with Phoenix. Phoenix without Chris Paul is a good team. Phoenix without Chris Paul for the entire season, the majority of the season, is not the number one seed in the Western Conference. Chris Paul adds a different element to that team. With Chris Paul, they are a championship team. So that's what I'm saying. With these three guys who are very important defensively, when Alex Caruso by himself is in the lineup, the Bulls are a top 10 defense. They dropped all the way to 28th since he's been out. I don't think we're really understanding just how important his contribution is to this team. Now, of course, they're going to need a little bit more chemistry. I don't know if as Billy said, that they hoping it's going to be 12 to 14 games and they'll have the whole squad together, that's going to help going into the season. But if I'm a Bulls fan, I'd say enjoy the ride. This has been one of the greatest franchise turnarounds I've seen in any sport in a long time. This team was god-awful last year. It's been god-awful since Jimmy Butler has left the building. So just appreciate what you're watching. And just appreciate that you're watching meaningful basketball in March. This is year one of a window. And the NBA windows usually last 4 to 5 years. And as we've seen from AK and from Mark Eversley, when there's holes to be filled, they get it done one way or another. So you just go, I want them to get a top 4 seed this year. Get you home court because the Bulls have one of the best home records in the league. Get you home court. Get healthy. See what happens. See what happens, and don't worry so much about a championship because this is not a team that has a superstar. Hate to break it to y'all. Superstar is a word that's been used way too much in the NBA. There's maybe 7 superstars tops in the league. I think DeMar and Zach are stars in this league. They're not superstars. They're not the Giannis or the KDs or the Jokic's and the Embiids and the LeBron and all them. So when you don't have a superstar, you have to overcompensate in some areas, and that's where the defense comes. This team cannot do what they want to do without playing elite defense. So that's what it comes down to, man. So I could rant about this more. We're going to get more into this on the Third Pick podcast, but I just want Bulls fans to relax. Relax, enjoy the rest of the season, and even if they lose in the first round, they could lose in the first round. the top 6 seeds, none of these series are going to be cakewalks. Even if you're a 3rd seed and you get to see Boston in the 6th seed in the first round, you think that's going to be a cakewalk of a series? Hell no. That's got 6 or 7 games written all over it. So whatever happens this season, enjoy it and let the guys work long term. It's first year, man. Breathe, Bulls fans. So now we're going to go to the team that's the opposite of the Bulls and the team that had all the hype coming into the season. And that is the Los Angeles Lakers, or as I like to call them, the best sitcom in TV right now. Now, right now, they're at 27-34. They are in the 9th seed in the Western Conference. Not only are they the 9th seed, they damn near 5 games behind the Clippers right now. There are only 2 games up on the New Orleans Pelicans and the fucking Portland Trailblazers without Damian Lillard. Let's put that in there right now. There's multiple ways I can go with this situation, man. One, when we sat up here and I did my preseason preview episode on this show, on Balled On Live, I told everybody, I mean, the minute Russell Westbrook got traded, I said on Twitter, this is not a championship team. I said they should have did the Buddy Hield move and try to add more players to it. We all know that DeMar was in the mix, and they decided to go for the big name and get Russ. I love Russell Westbrook. I'm a huge Russell Westbrook fan. And honestly, I don't think Russ has been as bad as people think he has been this year. If you've been watching Russ the last couple years, this is who the fuck Russ is. This is just what the player he is today. That's just how that guy is. So it's not as on a bigger stage, people get mad at the guy. It's not his fault. Not 100% his fault. He got played a part to play in it. But this team should not be as bad as they are right now. I just said they weren't going to the finals. I didn't think they'd be god awful. If you'd have told me that they were going to only have 27 wins in the month of March, I'd have said you were crazy. I still had them finishing top 4 and winning 50 games. I just didn't think they had enough to beat the elites in Golden State and in Phoenix, or even teams like Denver at full strength. I didn't think they could do that. But this is just an abomination in what we're seeing. And y'all know how I feel about LeBron. I'm not finna get into my LeBron hater bag, and I'm not gonna say that this ruins his legacy. I'm not gonna first take y'all. His legacy is cemented. There's nothing that LeBron can do that will hurt his legacy. He is, in my opinion, he's the second best player of all time, because the guy behind me right now is never gonna be not number one. But you gotta at least make the playoffs, dude. You can at least get a 6 seed, dog. And to look what the team on the other, just down the hallway, the Clippers have been without their 2 stars for damn near the entire fucking year. Paul George ain't played a game since like December. Kawhi ain't played a game since June. And they're 5 games better than them. That makes no sense. This is a bad team, but it's not a team that should be as bad as it. And these guys are just losing. They getting their ass kicked. They went up here, lost 37 points to the damn New Orleans Pelicans. You can't let C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram and dudes who I don't even know while fucking Zion is back at home doing some other shit, come into Staples and kick your ass. You had Luka. Luka called ISO on LeBron multiple times in the 4th quarter and had no fear. Multiple times. You got the Grizzlies talking shit, talking about, how LeBron used to creep up on people and block. I think it was Desmond Bain. I don't know if it was Desmond Bain. One of the Grizzlies players said them footsteps not scaring anybody no more. They talking crazy about LeBron and the Lakers. And you got these fans born. Now, of course, I feel like a lot of times fans need to stay in their place when it comes to being disrespectful to these players. I don't like that. And I feel like a lot of times players should be able to smack the shit out of fans. But in this situation here, I am a firm believer of if you play like shit, you get booed. Now, you don't throw things, you don't make insults or, call people out of their name and, make insults to people to players' families. That, to me, is crossing the line. But regular ass boos, you can do what the fuck you want to do if you're playing like shit, especially with the Lakers, man. We got to understand, this is the Los Angeles Lakers. This shit wouldn't be cool if it was even, this shit, like the Clippers could probably get away with this level of play. Ain't no problem. They can get away with this level of play. They're the Clippers. Nobody gives a shit. But this is the Lakers. The Lakers are the Yankees of the NBA. And I know Celtic fans want to hear, let's be real. I'm sorry, Celtics fans. Nobody care about y'all like that outside of Boston. Let's just keep it a buck. Y'all got 1 championship in 30 years. Yes, y'all are top 2 most successful franchise in the NBA. And I would say y'all top 2 most iconic franchise in the NBA. I give you that. But y'all not the damn Lakers. The Lakers, that name, Los Angeles Lakers, it's different. I mean, we got a damn HBO series coming out about them this weekend. There's just different things about them that compared to them. So the only team you compare them to is the Yankees. They win championships. This is a spoiled-ass fan base. When they don't get a championship, they get disappointed. And if you look at the grand scheme of this LeBron AD era, they kind of underachieved a little bit. Now, yes, they won a championship in 2020. Depending on how you speak about how much you care about that championship, or as Rich Eisen like to say, the Lakers won a champion-ish. Like, yes, maybe, but it was in the bubble. The hoes wasn't outside. I particularly don't honor that ring, but whatever. Hey, I give you that. They won a championship. But now you're on the verge of missing the playoffs twice in the time that you've had these guys here. Last year was the first round exit. And that was after you played in the play-in. I want to reiterate that the play-in is not the playoffs. And that's just disrespectful. If you're the Lakers, you can't tolerate this. If you're Genie Bus, you can't tolerate this. Then you got LeBron. And LeBron is balling. I don't have nothing to say about LeBron's actual play on the court. This is a very great season for this man's age. But with that being said, we're going back to some of these comments that said, this is a guy who tweeted before the season started, please keep that same energy. Keep calling us old. Keep calling us this. Keep calling us that. And now people are doing the very thing. You told people to keep their energy. People are keeping their energy, and now it's a problem. Now you're yelling at fans, cussing out fans, telling them, who are you to tell me this? And then last weekend at All-Star, you basically did everything but sign a Cavalier contract. But then when people bring it up to you because y'all getting your ass kicked again, y'all let Giannis come up here and miss one shot for the entire night. Then you want to say shit like the media taking my words out of context. Get the fuck out of here, man. Stand up behind your words, dog. You're trying to run away from it and try to blame the media, and we know what you said, bro. Stand up on them words. And if you're Genie Bus, if you're Rob Pelinka, where do you go from here? Yes, you could get. They're gonna find a way to get rid of Russell Westbrook this offseason. There'll be some team who's willing to take that 1 year, and then they can have that contract coming off the books at the end of next season. They're gonna find a way to get him off. But how do you fix this team? This Lakers team loses they lose every game pretty much the same. Nobody who's been paying attention to this team was fooled by that little 20-point comeback against Dallas the other night. Everybody knew they were still gonna lose that game. Now, Genie said that when she started running the Lakers himself, when her brothers left, Kobe told her that you got to be the mother of dragons. And that's another Game of Thrones reference. What did the mother of dragons, what did Daenerys do? She burned cities to the fucking ground. So she might have to go scorched earth on this roster this offseason because this shit can't go on. And Brian Windhorst said that the Lakers might have to trade to keep LeBron as far as keeping him happy. But how much more are you willing to do? LeBron saying that he likes what Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, said, fuck them picks. He said, I like GMs like that. I like what Sam Presti's doing. With all fairness to Rob Pelinka, that's exactly what he's been doing. He's been saying fuck them picks by listening to your ass. He didn't gave up pick after pick after pick since LeBron has come to Los Angeles. And it's only resulted into one championship. I'm going to use air quotes here. The Lakers will have to make a tough decision. I'm not going to say that they should trade Anthony Davis or put LeBron on trade talks. That might be a little extreme. But you got to regain control of your franchise, man. You don't want to fuck up your future so bad to where you think you can, to just add shit to it. Because LeBron is going to be, by the time the next season ends, he's going to be 38. I understand he's playing well right now, but we can't keep expecting this type of play from him much more. I mean, even as great as he's playing, it's not good enough that it's affecting the wins, obviously, because they ain't fucking winning. So they need to fix something. It's a dark day in Los Angeles. It's a dark day for Laker fans. I mean, the Rams just won the championship and nobody gives a shit. Everybody's talking about the fucking Lakers. They got to fix that thing. Now, as a bystander, as a guy who, I find this shit funny, to be completely honest with you. I'm enjoying the fuck out of this. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But if you're a Laker fan, you better hope Jenny knows what the fuck she's doing this upcoming offseason. Now we're going to get to my next topic, man. We're going to talk about, I'm going to do a little thing I did in the NFL season where I would do the top 3 must-watch games of each week. I'm going to give y'all my top 3 must-watch games for the rest of this week. We're going to start off with my number 3 must-watch game, which is tonight, Thursday, the return of Kevin Durant. They will be in South Beach. Heat, Nets, KD's back. That's going to be interesting to see because the Heat got a real tough schedule. The Nets have been playing like absolute shit since Kevin Durant has been injured, and they're sitting in the 8th seed right now. They've only got 20 games left. As of right now, Kyrie is only eligible to play 7 more games. Now, that might change. We're going to get into that later in the show. I have some comments on that. But as of right now, Kyrie can only play 7 games. He's not going to be playing this game tonight. Ben Simmons is still recovering and whatever the fuck. And they said he had a setback in his back injury. Now, I've always said I call bullshit. I think he's going to heal like Wolverine on March 11th. He just don't want to go back to Philly. You're not low. We know what the fuck you're doing. But I really want to see this. I want to see how healthy KD looks. I want to see, can the Nets get out of the play-in? You know what I'm saying? You know, they need to get out of play and see if they can get one of them top 6 seeds. And that's going to start here for them tonight. And the Heat have a gauntlet coming up. And this will be a nice big win for them if they were able to get against the Nets. My number 2 game will be Sunday. It's the early game, the Sunday matchup between the Bucks and the Suns. You know, funny thing, I had this on my list as my number 2. I'm going to keep it number 2, even though it's probably not on the list anymore because there's no Chris Paul. Devin Booker just in the COVID protocol, so he's not going to play. So it's probably not going to be a must-watch game anymore. Like, Giannis them probably should make quick work of them. So I just want to let y'all know I made this list before that news came out, and I didn't have time to change it. But I'm going to keep it at number 2 with Bucks, Suns, rematch of last year's NBA Finals. But my number 1 must-watch game is Saturday night. It is Heat, Sixers. This might be an Eastern Conference Finals preview here, man. We've got James Harden, Joel Embiid going against Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and the Miami Heat. I'm excited to see this, man. I'm excited to see this because I want to see how both teams measure up against each other. It will be a big win for both. You know, how is Harden and Embiid going to look like against a team that plays defense as great as Miami does? How is Miami going to play against the offense that, you know, that pick and roll between them two, Harden and Embiid, looks like it's going to be fucking unstoppable. I don't really know what teams are going to do when it comes to trying to stop that, but if there's any defense that's going to be able to do it, it's going to be the Miami Heat, man. So that's my number 1 must-watch game for the rest of the week. This Eastern Conference race, man, it's fun. It's fun to watch, and as a fan, for my team to even be involved in it is fun, too. Because I don't really know who's coming out the East. I have no fucking idea. I think this is a very unpredictable conference. I think all 6 teams can have a chance. This might be the most first-round upsets you can see. There's not really too many teams to play in I think can really, like, do anything outside of Brooklyn if they get healthy. But it's going to be fun to watch. And this seeding is going to go down to the very last day. And this seeding is going to be important because if you're a top team, you might not want to see a Brooklyn in the first round. You know what I'm saying? You might not want to see a Boston in the first round. This is not going to be one of them things where if you're the number 1 or number 2 seed, you're going to get a weak-ass team and basically like a bye week. That's not going to happen. All these matchups are going to be tough, and it's going to be fun to watch, man. We're going to wrap this up with my Goofy Mog of the week. Now, this is going to sound like I'm defending the guy who I've talked about a lot on this show, and I'm not. I'm not defending Kyrie Irving by any stretch of the imagination. But my Goofy Mog of the week goes to the New York City Mayor, Eric Adams, and this is why. The vaccine rule makes no goddamn sense. It makes no fucking sense. If you're going to lift these mandates, which I don't have too much of a problem with it, if the numbers or whatever, I don't work for the CDC, I don't fucking know. So if the numbers are saying you can open them, cool. But it doesn't make any sense why Kyrie can't play. If you're allowing players who aren't vaccinated from other cities to be able to play, but you're saying the dude, just because he lives in the same city, he can't play. What sense does that make? If you're bringing fans, 30, 40, however many 1,000 fans are in the fucking building, they don't have to be vaccinated. They don't have to wear masks. But the player does? What kind of sense does that make to me? And I feel like the whole thing should just let the dude play at this point. Because it doesn't make any sense on how you're trying to do this. If you're trying to keep people healthy, then just don't lift it at all. It can't be one thing or the other. It has to all make sense. And so from that understanding, I understand why Kyrie is frustrated when it comes to that. Now, this is not me, agreeing with everything he said over these last couple months. No, I still think he done said some bozo shit, and I don't agree with any of his fucking stances. But when it comes to actual things making sense, this makes no sense to me. And then he's gonna go up there and say, well, I have a dedication to these other workers in the city. I can't make an exception for one player. That's cool. So why you lifting things in general? If it's that dire, if health is that big of an issue, then it shouldn't be lifted at all. So which way is it, man? So I'm gonna give my Goofy Mog of the Week to Eric Adams, because that law just don't make no fucking sense to me. It just don't. If it's about health, then don't lift it. That's all I'm saying. So that's all I've got for y'all today, man. Not the usual 1 hour episode. Not too much going on in the sports world, man. But we back in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more news. Maybe we'll know where Aaron Rodgers is going to be going. Is he staying in Green Bay? Is he going to ask for a trade, or is he going to fucking retire? We'll have more NBA to talk about. Maybe we'll have some baseball news. I highly fucking doubt it, but we'll see, man. But you know to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BarberChairScott. You can follow this great media company, HNB Media, and HNB Media TV on Twitter, and at HNB Media on Instagram. You can follow my company, the Barbers Chair Network, at BarbersChairNet on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Barbers Chair Network, and subscribe to one of our 3 tiers. We have our new tier, the 79th and Hallis tier, which is only $5. You can get all our off-season content, starting with our new reaction show, 79th and Hallis Presents. We're breaking down classic Bears games. You can sign up for that one. And we have the other $5 tier, which is the Summer Sessions tier, where if you just want to hear the guys, me, Pav, Flows, Damien talk shit, we've got video now too. If you just want that, that's the $5 package. And if you want all of it, all the videos, even videos of some of our free pods, you can subscribe to the Barber's Chair $10 all access tier, where you get everything. Now, there will not be any Summer Sessions this week. Me and Pav will be covering the Clippers games, but we will be back next week, man. So thank y'all for watching once again. I appreciate all the support for this show. And hopefully we'll have a guest. We did not have a guest this week. Gonna look to see if we can get a guest in 2 weeks, man. But we out.
Triple double hat trick, I know the